this loner seems to free his mind at night. He's all alone through the day and night. The lonely loner seems to free his mind at night. At night.
So wake me up when it's all over. When I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself and I didn't know I was lost.
GM. GM. It is time for another space. Give me just a second. All right. Should be good now. Okay, it's been a minute. It's good to be back. Appreciate all y'all that are here already. Hanging out. Should be a fun space. Or not space. I mean, I need to do another space again soon. It's been a minute. But yeah, no, it's been a minute. So I wanted to go ahead and do a stream, you know, like kind of took the weekend off for Easter, hung out with the family some, just wanted to, you know, get off the screen for a little bit. And, you know, we're back though. And I feel like we're coming back at the perfect time, right? Like there's a lot of opportunity anytime that you get a decent dip. And right now, like, if you look at Bitcoin itself really hasn't dipped too much. It's still stuck in this range. But where you have the bigger opportunities, I think, are across some of the major alts. You've seen a little bit more bleeding, a little bit more red across the screen with some of them. So, yeah, you know, we'll talk through everything, what I see coming up here. I mean, the halving is this month. Happy April Fool's Day for those who celebrate. I have too dry of a sense of humor, so I can't really tell any April Fool's Day jokes, or it actually sounds real. So I've learned to just stay away from them for the most part. But before we really get going, want to go ahead and knock out a few things that, you know, normally do. Step number one, I want you guys to go over with me as far as the housekeeping. Go over to my profile, hit that profile button, and then hit that like button if you have not hit it already. And if you have not hit it already, go ahead and repost it. That just helps get more people in here, drives a little bit more traffic. And what you're going to do now is, I mean, just post any comment on here. And any comment really does help because Elon absolutely hates... I love the fact that it's still in all caps. Elon absolutely hates external links, but I'm determined to grow this YouTube account and determined to do some live stream stuff with it. Even though, like, technically, if I did it all on X, I could get paid a decent amount more. Because it actually looks like they're paying creators that are making content on X. But I think that, you know, sacrificing whatever the couple $1,000 a month that I might be getting from it and doing it on a different platform that, you know, potentially could draw in a new set of viewers completely would make a huge difference. So, yeah, you know, that's one of my goals for this bull market is just diversify my platforms, diversify opportunities to be able to get up there. Wonky stonks are inevitable. For those of you who do not have a stonk yet, you should get a stonk. Shout out to Pythonomics for opening up his OnlyFans. You know, things are down bad. I'm just messing around. Let's go ahead and go through some of the chat, see what you guys are talking about right now. Let me go ahead, go over here. We'll check out a couple of the charts that I'm looking at. Okay, so let's see who we got in the comments today. Shout out. I see we got a few people from Turkey whose names I cannot really pronounce. I think Ozkan is one of them. We've got, shoot, let me go down here. We got a few more. Shout out to Colton Groves having his scheduled April 21st Breeze Champ. Shout out to you. Ebu, I can never pronounce your name. I'm just going to say Deidra or Eboob. whatever it is. I love the 7 rockets. My man, they're actually that's 6 rockets. But either way, my man knows. Bullish, turbo bullish. Wish Crow is in here to be able to shout out. Charlie Knight, good to have you in here. Rob Jeffcoat, good to have you in here as well. Fred Vasquez, Jed Kelly, good to see you. Romaine Billette. I'm butchering names, and you know what? I apologize, but I don't. Avraham John, good to see you. Nuno, good to see you. It's turbo time. I like the name. We are going to run it back turbo. Joel Banda, good to see you. Bot's not a bot. Victor Gonzalo, good to see all of y'all. No chill to a bill. Yes, sir, Metaverse Kid. Let's go ahead, though. We've been diving through these comments for a second. We'll talk about some of the madness that we've seen on the timeline the past couple of days. I mean, again, like, this isn't too mad, right? Whenever you look at Bitcoin here, like, what is the dip percentage that we're talking about here? We're talking about a 5% dip. Feels like the timeline is absolutely collapsing because of that 5% dip. And the reason is because, you know, when you look at some of these other alts, like I had Doge pulled up, right? I'm in a Doge position right now. But like, I want to show why I think some people have experienced this a little bit more than others. Look at this. You know, if you were long on Doge, this is on the perps. That's a 20% candle in like 1 minute. Right? That's a huge OI flush for a lot of longs that have been just riding this for a while and we're a bit over leveraged, right? And like, you can see this same type of thing right here across several other alts that are out there. So, you know, a lot of people that basically a little bit too much exposure and thought they were playing it safe. I mean, a 20% dip, if you're on 5x leverage, is enough to liquidate you, right? So, you know, I think that's why you feel a little bit more pain on the timeline today. Again, some of the alts too, you know, like, heck, let's look at NoChill real quick, right? Like, you know, I've talked a lot about NoChill, super bullish on it. But, you know, if you're talking about the dip over the past couple days, that's nearly a 50% dip, right? In just a couple of days. And people can feel that pain, right? Like, you know, and we'll talk a bit more about that. Not that it's anything new. You know, again, if you look through the past of it, 60% dip there, it had a 90-something% dip down there, 60-something% dip down there. So not that this is anything not seen before, right? But, you know, you can look through a bunch of these other alts and a lot of other things paint the same picture as far as the dips that they've had from their peaks. So we're not necessarily, you know, like, it's on the fringes that you see a little bit more of this pain that's there, right? Okay, question from the audience. We have Canned. Are we going back below 50K anytime soon? I don't believe we are, Canned. That's my 2 cents. I could easily be wrong on that. But what I will say is, if I am wrong, and it does go below 50K, if you have any sideline capital whatsoever, you know, mortgage your house at that point to buy the dip because we are rocketing back above it. You know, and I'll say that too. Going into the halvening, like, because it's this month, I want to take a little bit of time to just look at a few halvenings, what's happened in the past surrounding them, and kind of what to expect right now going into it. Because again, it's just one of those things where, you know, it's really... It's easy to focus on the narrative and just think, man, this thing is going to be super bullish and immediately turbo propel us into the next stage. And then when it doesn't, you know, there's a little bit of disappointment. So we're going to talk through a little bit what's happening with that, right? You know, we want to just look at what's happened in the past, get the facts straight as far as the expectations going into this, talk a little bit more about what the halvening actually is. And yes, I add the inning. Is it the actual inning? No, it's just the halving, but like, it's more fun to say the halvening. You know, actually, one other thing, I want to go to the arena real quick. If you have not liked and retweeted this here, you know, as far, and hey, even drop your own link to this stream. Would appreciate that as well. We'll talk a little bit more today about SoFi, what's happening here, because the Friendtech drop is coming up later this month. The arena's been climbing. There have been a few other rooms that have been slowly on the rise as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about some of those things that are popping up, some of the traction that's happening there, some of the things to look forward to. And yeah, you know, like, again, we're gonna have fun on this stream. A lot to go through. Give me 1 second. I see a lot of your questions about a lot of different things on here that I will get to. Like, I will talk about Litecoin some. I think it's an interesting narrative right now. So I'll get to some of that stuff here in a little bit. Okay, step number 1. Let's go over here and let's go to... You guys have seen me go to the Bitcoin Liquid Index, BLX, just because it has the most history. So it's not updated right now. It should, you know, be somewhere down here near 70K for the price. Because this only updates like once every 24 hours. But yeah, dude, like, let's just get first things first clear. And, you know, actually, as much as I love these right here, it's time to delete them, right? Because I think we can all agree that that we've bottomed. This was important to look at as far as the cyclical bottom whenever we were establishing and looking and saying, hey, is this the actual bottom? Yes, right? Like, but we're at the point where it's not really. Like, we can all agree the bottom's hit. We're somewhere in this phase right here, right prior to the halving. So, you know, let me clear this up some. Sorry, I'm doing a little bit of this cleanup while we're on stream, but, you know, it's necessary. It'll save me the hassle of this being so messy every single time I come to it. Because that's one great thing about TradingView. It does save a lot of your layouts. It lets you... yeah, you know, it just lets you keep some of your previous drawings. Though I will say... It's a mess, though, whenever I do this type of stuff on a stream and then I come back and I open up a chart for the first time in a while and I see something like that on there, which will occasionally happen. Oh, yeah, I'll talk about DeGen on base as well. That's a great narrative as well. Though I think there's some stuff that I'm not even fully caught up on with that right now. Okay. Again, let's go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm kind of multitasking right now. Just a second, y'all. I'm sorry. Where the heck is what I'm looking for? I'm looking for something off screen right now. Okay, found it. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this again. Like I said, just want to take a look at this because the halving is coming up this month, so we want to know what to expect. You know, dude, I circled each of these the past couple months because that's really the period that we're in right now still, that pre-halving area. If you look at this, though, each halving has led to a major bull run, right? I don't see anything really changing this time around. But what I do want you to pay attention to is that after the date of the halving, it wasn't necessarily up only immediately, right? Like, there's November in 2012. It took all the way until mid-January before you really started to see a run. Okay. July of 2016, you actually saw a pretty decent dump right after. And, you know, we're talking like a 30% dump. Imagine right now how the timeline would freak out if we got a 30% dump. And that's why I brought up earlier, if you get lucky enough to ape 50K, ape it. Because look at the rally that ensued afterwards, right? You know, even right here, during the halving, right? It was not an immediate up-only candle. Like, we even had, this was the previous one in 2020. This was like a 20% dip right after the halving, right? And then ended up, like, it took about 6 months before we really started to see that rally. 5 months, actually, before we really started to see the up-only rally. So here we are now, and it's like, you know, could we keep going up only? Yes, but I, like, personally think it's more likely we see more chop in here, right? Before we end up going up only. So, I mean, realistically, we're already right here. So realistically, even if we did break down, like, if you get low or lucky enough that this support breaks and you get a dip in here, you ape that dip, man, because it's not going to last long. I expect it to come back up here, and eventually we end up continuing that path, right? So right now, there's a lot of opportunity, in my opinion, and there will be. You know, we've seen some bleeding across the market, but that doesn't necessarily mean that anything is dead. You know, it just means you have the opportunity to stack high conviction plays at a discount. Okay, so hopefully, and if you don't know, and I know the majority of you do, but I think it's important to talk through definitions as we go through this still, assuming that, you know, there might be the random person that's on here that has never seen or heard of Bitcoin before and is unfamiliar with what the term halving means. The halving basically means in Bitcoin, you know, it's secured by this, by basically a bunch of, there are basically a bunch of people that are out there competing to solve this. You know, they're securing the network via power, basically, by using a bunch of these miners to solve an algorithm to be able to figure out, you know, what, like, there's a randomly generated hash. They've got to figure out what that is. They're all doing it in unison. Eventually somebody solves it and they get rewarded for putting all of this power towards solving this issue with Bitcoin, right? And like every 4 years, just about every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that they get rewarded is cut in half. So what does that mean? It means there's less new supply that is introduced. Less new supply, as long as demand is continuing to grow, should be a bullish formula. And I still think right now, I did the math not too long ago. I need to pull it up. Like at current prices, like it's about a $15 billion reduction over the course of 4 years as far as how much supply is dumped onto, how much fresh new supply is introduced is a better way of saying it, right? So again, you know, I look at that and like some people say, hey, that doesn't make a huge difference whenever you're talking about a near $1 trillion market cap. And like, I disagree. I still think that it does. I still think that it will make a noticeable difference and that we will still see the effect of that play out. Because again, as you're talking about this, as market cap increases, so does the overall US dollar effect of those billions of dollars being introduced to the market. So overall, naturally, that's a huge part of what has led to the rally that we've seen over the course of the past several halvings. Okay. So anyway, like, it's a really, really, really basic layman's terms of what is going on with the halving and why it's something to look forward to, but not something to necessarily look forward to immediately. Because the other way of looking at this is miners have to cover their cost to operate by selling Bitcoin, right? Like they have to, because they're paying these they're paying for power to be able to secure the network and they're being rewarded with Bitcoin. Well, guess what? Every 4 years, because the amount of revenue that they're getting is effectively being cut in half. And that's not even taking into consideration how hash rate continues to climb higher. You know, because of that, like sometimes it leads towards some of these miners, at least in the early days, having to sell a little bit more out of their reserves to be able to cover operating costs because they're just not getting the same stream of revenue that they were getting. So that's why sometimes, like, it takes a little bit of time before you really see that effect of that supply reduction on the chart. Because again, the people that are, you know, the ones that are generating the entire new stream of supply are also the ones that are now being forced to sell a little bit more just to keep lights on. So yeah, like hopefully that shows a little bit of the logic for why, like, sometimes the effect of the halving is a little bit delayed. It's not necessarily an immediate 180 as far as price action. But anyway, like, still super, super bullish as far as long-term implications. Yo, good to see you guys on here. Hadi, I'm sorry, bro. I like, maybe eventually I'll unblock you. I'm sorry if you're blocked. I don't know what your name is on there. I apologize. Like, it is what it is. There are a lot of people out there that exist. It's probably nothing personal. Airdrop Kid, good to see you back in here, man. Can Ethereum hit 12 to 15K this bull run for a top? I mean, Amos, I won't lie, that sounds a little bit high. I don't think it's impossible, but it is up there. You know, it really just depends on how explosive this bull run really continues. 12 to 15K. Yeah, not impossible, but really just depends on what the upside of BTC this cycle is. You know, like, is it going to be boring and top out 110K or so? I don't think so. But if it does, then, you know, like that 12 to 15K upside is probably a little bit too high. But I will say this too, like, I do see a world where it would be possible that Bitcoin does only somehow go up to that low 100K area, and the majority of the fun and the growth actually happens on the peripheral, on the sides, where you're looking at like a bunch of these alts and a bunch of these different L1s and the speculation of like what could be the run up. And I will say this, I do think ETH is undervalued right now with the whole ETF narrative. I do think that we're still going to see a run up in that as there's more progress, but you know, from everything I'm seeing, that doesn't really play out until later in the year. But yeah, no, I'm still confident that Doge is going to run higher, at least in the next few days. It's just a little bit of a swing trade right now for me still. You know, I've talked about Doge for a long time. Let me go to a different chart on here because I think I've got some stuff pulled up on it. Doge is the king of the memes. Memes are continuing to run. I still think something like this is going to play out, and it's going to run a little bit higher from here, maybe to the 30-cent range is what I'm really looking for, at least for this leg up. You know, if I got 30 cents to be able to exit my Doge position, I would be really happy. I would not be upset about that at all. So yeah, you know, like, and again, I look at it, it's not a guarantee, right? Obviously nothing in life is a guarantee. But if you look back at April of last year, this little candle right here, that was a couple days after April Fool's Day, and Elon tweeted out, basically changed the Twitter logo to the Doge logo. And will he do it again? Honestly, doubtfully. But what if, right? Like, what if? And sometimes just playing on the speculation of it is enough to keep a rally sustained. So I'm in it right now. Again, still think it's got a little bit left in this before it's overextended. You know, again, like, I'm looking for that 30-cent range to ideally exit the position. You know, maybe high 20s would be a little bit more realistic. But like high 20s to low 30s, I think is where you really take some heavy profit on this. You know, let's look at the BTC chart. I still think that there's a chance. Again, you're looking at this, and yeah, that would line up about with what I'm looking at here. You know, this would be a blow off, which I'm actually thinking is a little bit less likely that it goes that high. It's probably something closer to this than it is a full run up past that. And this is just a BTC chart, high time frame that I'm looking at right now. So I think that it will get up here, probably does a little bit of a breakout. You know, maybe, if we're lucky, hits that October level for the BTC ratio, and then probably ends up dropping down. So we'll see. Okay. But, you know, again, I'm still bullish on the memes. Still bullish on the potential that the memes have this play, or they're lot of cool things to look forward to, I think, as far as where the memes are going to head this year. Just like, I think it's hilarious that you've got names like Bowden on an election year that are making fun of Biden that have just had these type of runs, right? You know, it's at 30 something cents, a little bit of a cool off right now with it, but like, it's $200 something million FTV, and it's freaking, you know, a meme about Biden. I don't know, man. Like, And in an election year, if memes are running this well early on, like this type of stuff probably does keep running later in the year when we get more retail that's actually here and participating. Right? At least the way that I see it right now, will it actually play out? I mean, again, TBD. What about Pepe? Dude, Pepe, I tweeted out about Pepe a while ago that I was basically laying off it for now. And here was the main reason why. You know, we had that amazing run up with Pepe up to this range. And this is where I was like, yeah, honestly, probably time to get out. Why? I was looking at, like, you know, and there's some people that think ratios are stupid, but looking at Pepe versus the underlying asset that it's built on, which is ETH, and it hit this all-time high, right? Like, as far as what the ratio was. And I just saw that as an opportunity where, you know, going to be some type of heavy resistance there. And it has been so far, right? And, like, could it go higher than this? Yeah, sure, maybe. But, like, honestly, you know, I was looking at Bonk versus Sol. That's the wrong bonk chart. It's got to, is it? Yeah, it's got to be. What the heck? Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Okay, so let's see. Like, the Bonk versus Sol chart is kind of where I got this idea from, right? You know, you looked at Bonk, where did it top out? Right at the all-time high of its Sol ratio. And where did it top out again? All-time high of its Sol ratio. So again, I'm looking at ETH or Pepe, and I think it's a bit overextended, personally. I just think there are better opportunities, better bets right now. It was a great bet on the ride up, but it's just not where I would put my capital right now. Floki, I still think has some upside, right? You know, we were looking at Floki. I've been looking at the Floki charts. Dude, here's the thing that annoys me with Floki, though, is I can't find a chart on here that shows its all-time high price, because its all-time high price is right about here, you know, at 3. But I will say this. It is not at its all-time high versus BNB yet. It's just not. So it's got higher to run because the time that it did it, the BNB price was lower. So I do think that Floki will end up entering into price discovery here, you know, especially when you look at its market cap versus some of these others. It's a 2-point-something billion market cap built on BNB. You know, and you're talking about rankings for overall market caps of these smart chains. BNB is number 3 or 4. Shoot, I need to look and see what it is now. 3 or 4, whatever it is. Either way, like, it probably ends up running for a new all-time high. That's my bet, at least, right? Okay. So there are a few things for y'all as far as, let's see, anything else that I'm missing that I wanted to, I know there are a lot of things I'm missing, y'all. I'm sorry. You know, I did say I'd talk about Litecoin. So let me look at Litecoin real quick. Here's the thing about Litecoin. No matter how bullish it looks, I'm never going to buy it again. I'm done with it. Like, and maybe that's what it needs to actually run to these new highs and, you know, but I'm just done with it. Like, I charted this out a long time ago, and look how well it's played out so far, right? Like, the two places that I said would be an opportunity to buy it would be there on that high time frame breakout. And did it work out? Yeah, like, so far it's had a good run up from 70 to, you know, about 100. And will it keep running? Probably. Like, it's still probably not a bad place if you really have some type of conviction in Litecoin to be able to stack it and hold on to it for this run up. But personally, I want to wait and see if it somehow ever reclaims that. And I'll be a buyer at $400. Like, if, you know, if and when it does that 4x, I will be a glad buyer right here. after it breaks out and does a little, you know, a little retest right there. I will be a glad buyer right there. Until then, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just burned me so many times that I'm afraid of it. Like, it's that simple. I don't like the narrative behind it, so I'm not riding with it. Okay. Okay, I'll look at Joe real quick. I'll look at Joe and I'll look at AVAX. Dude, I still think Joe... shoot. I still have a lot of conviction that this ends up running from here. You know, solid bounce so far off support. Hasn't had an issue with it. I see, you know, same type of breakout here. Accumulated a little bit before it really sent. I still see that type of thing playing out here where it ends up sending off of this. A lot of conviction in it. Still think it runs. Same with AVAX, man. I mean, AVAX, like, I'm looking at it. Like, you know, we're still above support from that previous breakout here from the December highs. Bounced right off it, actually. And, you know, heck, even if it does, I don't know, where I'd get a little bit more worried if we got a break beneath here, then might be a little bit more concerned. But as long as, you know, we're holding even here, wouldn't be surprised if it did something like that. I'm still bullish on it, man. You know, I just look at, like, from a higher time frame perspective, what it's done versus, you know, what Sol has done. Still really think that it's got room to be able to fill this gap up here to that $100 range. Similar to what Sol has done with its chart, which I've showed plenty of times. Still bullish on Sol to make a run to new all-time highs. You know, chop is normal after the run that it's had recently. It's still in that $200 range. That's heavy resistance. Again, you know, this is kind of that cliff that I was looking at for AVAX to be able to run up to. Same type of thing with Sol right here, where it's already reached that cliff. It's already had that reclaim of that base range that it had during the bull market / bear market. So yeah, you know, like I think AVAX is going to do something similar to this, and Sol, I think, is going to keep leading and probably break out, make a new all-time high sometime sooner rather than later this year. So still super bullish on both, to answer that question. Just looking at something real quick. Okay, let's see. Oh, why do I still have that out? Yo, good to see some of you guys coming in from the arena, some of you guys from X. And, you know, I am curious, if any of you guys found this stream just through discovery on YouTube, let me know, because I'm curious if there are any people that actually find me via just browsing YouTube rather than following me on Twitter or the arena or somewhere else like that. Oh, I did say I'd talk about DeGen. I will talk about DeGen. Give me a second. Yeah, like DeGen has been running. I want to know what the whole narrative is with it being L3, whatever. This is a ridiculous run that DeGen has had. And if you're unfamiliar with DeGen, DeGen is a Farcaster coin. You know, you have this run up here, something similar running up to FDV of 2 bill. And I think the FDV is that high because they have a lot that is locked right now and basically, you know, being released as, you know, an incentive for people who farmed it. They get X amount of DeGen to be able to give away every day. And I really like that type of, type of narrative that they're running with. Different than a lot of other coins, but, you know, it's a SoFi coin and it's like their tipping coin. And, you know, so super bullish on SoFi coins and tipping coins. You know, and right now, dude, you can look at this, like base memes are popping off. And again, I'm still super bullish right now on NoChill. Similar type narrative. It is the tipping coin of the arena. You look at this dip right now that it had, again, 40 something %. It's already rallied back. Let's look at this. Just a second, y'all. But it's had several of these, right? Like, if you look at... Let's delete some of this and redraw it. I'm just going to completely redraw this. So, again, like, the way I look at it right now, and we talked about this on stream the other day, how it was either going to play out like this or like this, and it chose this path. And that's fine, right? You know, where you had this trend line here... You know, it looked like a pennant, possibly breaking out like that. And then it broke down, and you're like, oh, shit, look at this. Like, is it over? Same type thing here, right? You're like, oh, man, shit, is this over? You know, are we done? And then look what happened afterwards. It ended up reclaiming this right here and just sending from it. And I look at that right now where it is, and I see something really similar where I'm looking at this. You know, it's already reclaimed that whole downtrend, and it's starting to bounce. And like, here's one of the cool things too. The AVAX Foundation has been aping these dips. They have not even aped the dip yet. This has all just been from the community. And why do I say that? You know, again, you can look at some of these other charts for where some of these coins are. You know, hey, we've had a little bit of a rally here with Kimbo. You know, you can look at some of these others though. Like, you would see God candles across the board here for these bounce backs. You haven't seen that with Meow yet. You know, I think they are going to start aping Meow. Actually, that's not the best example because they haven't, but let's look at tech real quick. Okay. I am not sure what the heck just happened here. Okay, there we go. So yeah, you would see a God candle on tech also, but it just hasn't happened, right? So it's super bullish to me that this is rallying the way that it has without any intervention from external forces, right? Same type thing again, you know, like we can go through this. I want to talk about just what the arena in general has been doing recently. You know, because, oh, shoot. Okay. Sorry, I had the wrong screen up on my for a second. Okay. So let's look real quick at SoFi TVL rankings. And I think this is important. Again, you want to spot trends. You know, believe it or not, Friend Tech, with all the bullish narrative behind it, is only up 1% in the past 1 month as far as its TVL. You look at the arena, which is like basically the tipping coin. NoChill is basically the tipping coin of the arena. The arena is up 50%. Right? Like, it has continued to grind up. It's about to reclaim that number 2 spot. V2 should be coming out anytime now. And they've been doing a lot of things to be able to incentivize the community to be able to ape back in. And, you know, it's working. So I think that they continue to do a good job of that, like they have been recently. And that we continue to see a rally in it. Like, I don't see anything changing anytime soon. When we look at this TVL for the arena, and if you don't have an arena account and you don't have any of that, check out the comments in here. I've got a link to be able to join. But yeah, just look at the USD value continue. You know, it was skyrocketing back at the beginning. It's got a lot of CT that was introduced to it before with the old team, before all of this ended up happening, before it made the comeback. And it's slowly just been accumulating and grinding up. And I think it's going to continue to do that, right? Like, I don't see anything changing with this right now. And whenever it hits that 3 mil mark and it really makes new all-time highs is where I really think it's going to fly. And I see them making it happen. Okay. Yo, I'm just curious. I haven't seen any comments from you guys in a second. Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? Is everybody here? Is everybody around? Like, where are y'all? give me something to talk about. Okay, good. I'm seeing stuff again. But yeah, it's back above a mil. A lot of people were looking for that. You know, we're still waiting for that V2 to roll out. I think it's going to be sick when it does roll out. You know, it's fun having this March Madness stuff to be able to get the tickets. Basically, every AVAX, 0.1 AVAX you spend, you get 10 tickets. Is that right? Yeah. So, like, I've spent 50 AVAX over the past couple weeks. So that's, you know, 500 tickets. Goldfish has spent 1,000 AVAX, which is 10,000 tickets. Kelso, you know, 470, 47, right? So you can see kind of like who's been really active in buying these dips. And honestly, good way of being able to kind of, you know, pick active people that you want to be able to ape into as well, you know, outside of just scrolling through the timeline. But, you know, I talked about tipping on here. So, you know, I can go through here and I can tip, let's see, I can tip if I want to 420.69 NoChill to the Dazzle Novak, and like, boom, he gets whatever that is, like $10. Is it $10? Yeah, I think it's $10. $10 for him sharing the food. Like, that's cool, right? Like, you know, I'm gonna tip Gem Hunter for selling me earlier. Why? Because he sold me to buy more NoChill. So he gets $100. Yeah, $100 for selling me, which I'm not going to do that for any of the rest of y'all for selling me. Like, I don't care. I just respect the grind. I respect that guy. He's a good guy. But yeah, man, like, the arena is going to continue to make a comeback. The arena token is dropping soon. You can connect your wallet to be able to basically designate what wallet you want that distributed to. And that's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks. But okay, want to talk a couple other things like the meme coin rush. If you haven't staked your stuff yet, go to Trader Joe, go down here, visit farms. Basically, they're going to be, it's going to be interesting how much they actually hand out on the rewards. I've got a few $100,000 of NoChill staked right now. You know, right now there's over $13 million of it staked, and you can look through here and look at the total supply. Tech has 51% of their supply staked. Kimbo, 30%. Gek with 28%. Meow with 57%. You know, like, pretty insane, the percentages and just the overall value of these meme coins that are staked right now. And here in a bit, you get rewarded, right? Like, there are points that you earn for this. Why do I have $50 of everything staked at least? And I'll show you how easy it is. I actually need to stake a little bit more Kong because Kong price has gone down. And so I'm going to stake basically all this Kong. I've got to approve it real quick. You can see what I already have locked. Basically then just have to approve the transaction after that. Okay, it's approving on Snow Trace. Boom, done. Now I deposit. Confirm, and it goes from 220 million Kong locked to, what do I have now? Hopefully it should be close or more above $50 because they take snapshots, and if you have more, at least $50 of every one of these tokens staked, you get a 20% bonus, and you also get a bonus by just keeping everything that you staked. So I've got no plans of unstaking this. So again, you know, another bullish narrative that we're talking about for NoChill, and we're talking about for the AVAX meme coin ecosystem as a whole. You know, when you've got nearly 40% of the supply staked and incentive for people to basically be able to get AVAX rewards to just keep it there, you know, it takes a lot of the supply off the market, could potentially be dumped. And I think that we end up seeing that reflected in a meme coin season on AVAX still. You know, it just takes one little run from AVAX to be able to make that happen. So whenever it does make that run up to that $80 range, like, you know, $80 to $100 range, all these coins are going to fly. And like, just having conviction to be able to see that through, like, bro, there have been so many coins that have come and gone and whatever else. Like, dude, you look for things like this that have had that staying power and that have the cult-like community to be able to stick with. So, dude, at the end of the day, like, what I want to get at from this stream is basically there's a lot of opportunity with these dips, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be up only immediately for Bitcoin for things to be bullish for the next couple of years, right? We can have a little bit of chop and it doesn't mean that it's all over, right? Like, it is completely normal as far as the timing of it. And if you've got high amounts of conviction on some of these plays, that means there's a lot of opportunity on some of these things that have been oversold. You know, so I think that we're going to continue to see that run up. We're going to continue to see things play out that, you know, like, again, I'm looking at this, a $35 million market cap. I'm still super bullish on this running. Like, heck, I think it does a run like this from here. We're going to see 100 mil plus. I actually am crazy enough to think that $1 is completely possible with NoChill one day. So yeah, we're just hanging out, man. Like, you know, thrive through whatever dips have happened. We've seen worse. You know, again, with all of this stuff right now, we have seen worse. Bitcoin's going to chop some for a little bit. That's fine. You know, look for the opportunities where you have it. Be patient. Things are going to work out. So appreciate y'all for being patient with me for not doing this for a few days. But it's good to be back. Hope all of y'all enjoyed your Easter weekends. And I will be doing a couple more of these this week, so be on the lookout. Make sure to like this video and sub if you have not done it already. Would really, really appreciate that if you have not subbed to go ahead and do it. So, yeah, I've got a lot more on the list to talk about in the next upcoming streams. But unfortunately, got to go right now. Got to get ready for Young Life coming up here in the next hour. So I love y'all, and we'll catch you guys next time. Take it easy.
To the moonlight and I'm speeding. I'm headed to the stars, ready to go far. I'm start walking.
We could be heroes. We could be heroes. I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. Cocaine quarter piece, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA. I got hustle, though, ambition, flow inside my DNA. I was born like this, and born like this, immaculate conception. I transform like this, perform like this, was Yaoshu a new weapon. I don't contemplate, I meditate, then off your fucking head. This that puts a kid to bed. This that I got.